Happy Earth Week to everyone. So, Georgianne asked me to do this to kind of show people about the issues, because what we hear a lot is when you ask people what is sustainability, they say, "Oh, it's environmental issues," but it is so much more. And I think that sometimes is why people feel like, "Oh, it's just too much. There's nothing I can do." So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through some issues that we're experiencing here in Dallas County specifically, so that we can see where some of the problems are, what the problems are, where they are, and who's being affected, and then we can have a conversation about that. So I am going to. There we go. So we're going to start at the very top, and we're going to talk about what sustainability is. So sustainability is a three-legged stool. So it's the environment, which is, the most common response, but it's also equity or social justice, and it's also economy or responsible economic responsibility. So businesses should be sustainable, and they should treat their employees with social justice, and then that is being sustainable. And if one of the legs is shorter than the other, then the whole stool falls over. So all three of these legs are really necessary for sustainability to happen in Dallas. So typically, we use this a lot, the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 global goals, to talk about what sustainability is. It's graphically beautiful. People can identify with it. Oh yeah, who doesn't want clean water? Who doesn't want a quality education? Who doesn't want zero hunger? But the beauty of this is that all of these work together. Not one can exist in a silo. So one of the examples that I like to give, because we have a community garden at our Mountain View campus, is that, that helps alleviate zero hunger when people can grow their own food. It also leads to good health and well-being when people are eating nutritious food. And you can achieve a quality education when you are not hungry and you're eating nutritious food. If you are lacking in food or nutritious food, it's hard to learn. And so many of our students here in Dallas County, that is the best meal that they have every day, is their school lunch, their free lunch through DISD. So it all works together. It also leads to reduced inequalities. It leads to sustainable cities and communities, because these students can learn and go on to higher education and get good, well-paying jobs. So they're all connected. And it's a wonderful thing when you can show people those connections and you can see the light bulbs start to go off over their heads. But I really, really like this graphic. And this graphic shows us at what levels the importance of these grouped SDGs work together. So without a biosphere that is resilient, we're not going to get the other two. So we need to make sure that we are concerned about life on land, life in the water, clean water, climate action. Those are the things that build the foundation for all of the other sustainable development goals. So above that are the societal concerns. There are 8 of those, twice as many as the biosphere, but they all rest on our ability to achieve the 4 SDGs in the biosphere layer. And then the economy is last. So where you hear so much about, oh, we've got to keep our economy growing, and we've got to do this, and industry and business is so important. But it's the other 2 layers that the economy rests on. If the bottom 2 layers, we're not achieving those targets and those indicators and those goals, we really will not be able to have a sustainable economy. And that's why I love this graphic, because it really puts it into perspective. What's the most important first, second, and then the third? So we're going to talk today about 6 different levels, and we're going to talk about a livable built environment and what that looks like in Dallas. And is it? We can have a conversation about that. Who's affected by our built environment? What are the impacts of it on nature and society? We're going to talk about harmony with nature, resilient economy, interwoven equity, and healthy community. And then the authentic participation, we're just going to have a conversation about that. So what I wanted to show you is, luckily, all students in Dallas College now have access to this suite of products called ArcGIS, provided by Esri. And it contains an enormous amount of pre-existing data that students can use to import into maps to visualize data. So you can see not only what's happening, but where it's happening and who is being affected. So this presentation is done in a story map, which is a ArcGIS product, but all of these maps are also generated in ArcGIS map viewer. So I'm going to start us out by looking at our region. So you can see exactly where people live in North Central Texas. All of the red areas are where people live. And so there's this organization called the American Planning Association, and they created a document that helps spell out what these topics mean. So a livable built environment, according to the American Planning Association, is that that you look at all of the elements of the built environment. You're looking at the land use, the transportation, where it is, what are its impacts, what are the housing, what kind of energy is being used, and the infrastructure, sewer, energy pipeline, sanitation, all of those kinds of infrastructure. But all of those things are working together to provide a sustainable green place for living, working, and recreating with a high level, a high quality of life. So tell me, do you think that how are all of these things working together to provide a high quality of life in Dallas County? So we're going to zoom in on this a little bit. And I'm actually, since this is a living document, at the end of the presentation, I'm going to share it with you, and you can explore all of these maps and all of these links to your heart's content. You can share it with anybody you like. So that's another really cool thing about this. But you can see in Dallas, the darker the red, the more built, the more concrete there is, the more buildings, parking lots, streets, freeways, the more built up that area is. So it becomes abundantly clear where most of our built environment is in Dallas County. The downside of that, just, in addition to it being a bunch of impervious surfaces that the rainwater that hits that impervious surface has nowhere to go, and that's what creates urban flooding issues, is the urban heat island effect. That is where it is hotter in places where there is more concrete. Just makes sense, right? So during the day, the concrete absorbs that heat and radiates it out even into the nighttime. So you can see here exactly where the highest concentrations of the urban heat island effect are in Dallas County. And you could even, so here is downtown, right here. So you can see where that is. So this is West Dallas, and you could even, and there is a search function here. If I move this, there is a search function here where you can look for where you live, and you can see where the urban heat island effect is at where you live, where you work. So Here is the legend for what all of this is. So this is the developed high intensity. And yes, the urban heat island is uncomfortable, especially in our really hot summers when it gets over 100 degrees and it just seems like it does not cool off at night. Well, that's why, because that concrete has absorbed that heat all day long. But the other part of that is that it leads to respiratory difficulties, heat exhaustion, and even heat stroke because your body does not have the opportunity to cool off. It also affects urban wildlife. So, anything, birds, plants, animals, it affects everything that is. So it's not only environmental, but it's also a social justice issue. So we have a lot of urban heat island in Dallas. So what could we do to alleviate that? What would be the recourse that Dallas could do to help alleviate that? I know that they have a lot of tree planting programs. They could do complete streets where they put in planters on sidewalks and rain gardens and bioswales and all of these things that cool an area. So there are things that can be done, but at the very end, we're going to talk about authentic participation and what you can do to take these issues to the city of Dallas or wherever you live and say, hey, these are real problems and we need to do things about it. Another huge issue in Dallas is transportation. Now, I know that my commute, I just came back to the office 3 weeks ago, and my commute is not as horrible as it was pre-pandemic. So that's nice, but it's going to get, as people come back to work, as we get out of this working at home environment, we will go back to the horrid traffic that we experience almost, in the before times. We're going to get back to that. So what this heat map shows is the transportation, the multimodal transportation. So this is the light rail system that is in Dallas and in Fort Worth. So this is the TRE, and then these are all of the DART light rails. And then this is the one new light rail that runs from downtown Fort Worth to DFW Airport. So we can see that Dallas really has done more. They've laid more rail. There are more options to take the light rail mass transit in Dallas. But can anybody look at this image and tell me what the problem is with having this hub and spoke kind of layout for light rail kind of mass transit? Does anybody know what the issue is with having this kind of rail layout? So I'll wait for that information, and we will zoom in, Andy. And now you can see even closer, you can see the different rail lines, the one going to UNT, the one going to Westmoreland. I forget which one this is, but now we can see this is downtown Dallas.
Just going to say, one of the answers that came in was that lots of areas are not able to easily get to those rail stations.
Yep, that's true. And what if I want to go from where I live near Westmoreland Station to UNT? What is going to happen if I want to get from here to here? Is the light rail even a possibility? Is it a good option if I want to get from here to here? Unfortunately, it's not, because you have to take it all the way up to downtown and then all the way back down. there is no connector. There's no ring connector. So like if I want to take the light rail from North Lake College and get to Brookhaven College, or Brookhaven campus, yeah, I have to go all the way downtown and then all the way back up to Farmer Springs. It's very celebrated. I'm very proud of Dallas for being insightful and progressive, but it's not enough. And we need to do more to make it more equitable. Plus, you can also see that it goes further in the northern regions than in the southern sector. This underlying map also shows you the amount of people who don't even own a car. So if you don't own a car, how do you get to the light rail system? So we need to do more to recognize where the problems are, where transportation options are needed, and fulfill those needs rather than expanding up. Yes, Indy?
Some of the other comments that came in are that they don't easily connect. It requires several different routes. And they're looking to make a rail along 635.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be very cool. When I know that they're going to take the line, the Cotton Belt line that's running from Fort Worth to DFW Airport, and they are extending that. DART is extending it from DFW Airport up to Plano. So the northern sector, north of downtown, really gets a lot of coverage, but the southern sector really doesn't. And we can tell by this map that is where the need is. Yes, it's convenient for people north of Dallas to have access to light rail, but the people who really need those multimodal opportunities and options are in the southern sector. So you could take this map to the Dallas City Council and say, we need to change this. And that is part of that authentic participation, is that typically people in lower income areas don't have the same voice. And that is an enormous social justice issue, that they don't have the voice and they don't have as much power as those who live north of Dallas. So, these tools might be helpful for you to take this information to your city council person and have this discussion. The biking infrastructure is fragmented at best. I was not able to find a map that was in the data, but there's a Google map that lists all the biking options in Dallas County, and you can see that it is extremely fragmented. So here you can see the legend that the trails are the dark green, the dedicated lanes are light green, and the bicycle-friendly roads, which is really and truly an oxymoron, because there is no such thing. Realistically, and anybody who's ever ridden their bike long distances to and from work would agree with me on that. But we can zoom in and we can see where all of these bike-friendly roadways are and where they are not. So this is really cool. It is a feature in Google Maps where you can turn on the biking and the walking infrastructure, and also mass transit. So they will show you all of the stops and all the rail lines. So I really like Google Maps for this kind of information. But I wanted to show you something. So I did find in the Dallas GIS hub, so most cities have public data that anybody can download and import into these mapping systems. The Central Business District plan, thoroughfare plan. And so this is Dallas's thoroughfare plan. The CBD is the Central Business District, which is typically the downtown. So it's the only one with a bike section. But do you see this one little tiny bike? It's like, really? where are you supposed to go if that's if you're going in this 2 block area, we will plan for you to use a bike in this 2 block area. It's really, we need to get in front of the city council and say, you need to do more. You need to do more to provide more options for people to get around. But it was terrifying, and I was laughing and crying at the same time. So that was very, very interesting. But there's also a really good app that is open in public that was done by the Smart Growth. It's called Smart Growth. It was done by the Texas Trees Foundation and the Trust for Public Lands. So I'm going to hope that my username's not on this computer, so you can play with it. You can make your own account, and I did not have the foresight to do that on this computer. So I'm in an empty office, and I'm not at my regular computer. But what I wanted you to see was all of the different options for complete streets that are available in that. So let's see here. So let's look at green space. So that's one of the aspects of livable built environment, is the access to green space. The Trust for Public Land believes that everyone should live within a 10-minute walk of a green space. So I was able to get this wonderful, this is their website that shows you where all of the public parks in Dallas are. You can look at the parks with public access, which parks are in a 10-minute walk. So if we look, most of the area is in a 10-minute walk area. So 70.9% of Dallas County residents, 401,000 people, are within a 10-minute walk of a park. But we can also see where the heat island is, and that helps us show where parks should be. So according to the data from the Trust for Public Land, they're saying that due to the urban heat island effect, that there should be parks added to these areas. So we could zoom in. So remember when we were looking at the urban heat island, the very first map I showed you, this is West Dallas. So there's a lot of light industrial and multifamily in this area. So they're suggesting that this would be the perfect place to alleviate some of that urban heat island effect right here. So they are recommending 5 different ones. So this is a really, really cool map to play with. So now, how do we live in harmony with nature? So the more impervious surfaces we put down, we are destroying arable land that we're covering over creeks, we're covering over habitats, and creating these urban heat islands and these urban flooding infrastructure. So Esri has this great product called this green infrastructure tool, and I made it has 5 layers. So I made it into an app that you can explore so that you could explore all 5 layers. So what it shows us is it's a national map, but I zoomed into Dallas County. So Chan, if you want to explore Atlanta, all of these maps that I'm sharing are national. So you can explore these no matter where you live or where you do your planning career. But it shows us where the intact habitat cores are in Dallas County, where are the fragments, but we've cut off those. We've built things. So now the animals, the urban wildlife, and the migratory wildlife cannot connect. We're going to look at the connectors, and then by the importance of them, of the ability of these to be able to connect, and how much it will cost, how expensive is it to fix these problems. So if we go up here to the layers, all 5 of them are on right now. So we're going to turn them off one by one. So we're just going to look at the habitat cores. And I can't take that. So we can see that there are not many cores in Dallas. Of course, this is the Trinity, the Great Trinity Forest. You can see that. This is a Joe Pool Lake. So you can see where the cores are in Dallas County. But let's look at the fragments. So you can't see many. You see them? See if we can change this base map. So if we go with a dark gray canvas, now you can see it. So all of these light colors, if we look at the darker green are the best, the lighter, so it gets, the best ones are the darker color green. So these are the habitat fragments. So this is where we have cut off from the cores where those are. So now we can really see all of the different fragments. So where are the connectors? So this is showing us where those connectors are and how we need to reconnect these cores with each other, so for migration and to keep the biodiversity in those areas. You can also look at by the importance of these. So these need to be connected, and there's more information in all of this that explains why. So we can see where those connectors need to go, and then also where the most expensive areas are for this to happen. But we know where it needs to happen, we know why, and now we know how much it will cost with a lot of variables thrown in. But this is fabulous information if you really, really want to make a change. And you can zoom in on your neighborhood and you can say, hey, we are part of this connector. We can do something about this in our neighborhood. So this is not only educational and informational, but it is empowering. This is extremely powerful. Everybody has equal access to all of this information, this data, and these tools. So I really encourage everyone in Dallas College to contact me so that I can create your account for you. So does anybody have any questions about these, Andy or Georgianne?
Someone has asked, how do we participate via chat? Is anybody monitoring the chat? And yes, I am. So if you have a question, you can put it in there, or you can put it in the Q&A. And then so there's some questions about how to get to chat. And Andy, I'm going to ask you, because I'm not real familiar with the attendee view of WebEx. So can you tell them where to find the chat button?
In the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you should have 3 buttons in a bubble labeled with chat and 3 dots. The chat can be an opportunity for how you can type into the chat box if you were just adding a comment. And then there's a Q&A button as well, where you can click to type in a specific question, and we're monitoring both. So I see some people have put some comments in the Q&A as well. So some very cool, and thank you for the information.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, guys. So this next map is about where does flooding happen? So it typically happens along creeks and streams and rivers and lakes, when we have, when we have one of those rain bombs, it also happens in urban areas, like low-lying areas, under underpasses. If it's lower than the regular substrate, then that kind of information is not available. I don't have access to that information. I'm sure the city of Dallas could tell us. But this map is showing us where the watersheds are in our area. So all of these little areas here are watersheds. So you can zoom into your neighborhood and you will know that, okay, the water runs, through my neighborhood down to this area. It's done with statistics, it's done with hydrology. It's really interesting to know where the watersheds are in your area, especially when it comes to litter and plastic pollution. You will know exactly how that litter moves down and how it gets to the Gulf of Mexico, how it gets to the Trinity River, and that path it follows down to the Gulf of Mexico to become part of one of the 5 garbage gyres that are in our oceans. So you can look at this and see where the watersheds are. And if any of you know where Mountain View campus is in West Dallas in the Oak Cliff area, it's about 201 acres, 210 acres. We actually have parts of 3 different watersheds on our campus. So on that particular campus. So it's really interesting. It's not related to any man-made political areas, boundaries, or anything like that. It's all done by hydrology. So you can see which one of these your neighborhood is in. But let's look at where are the flood risks in Dallas. So if we look at the legend, we can see that the lighter areas, which is most of the area, most of the United States, has a minimal flood risk. But the darker the colors means the higher the possibility of flooding risk. So the darker darker purple is the higher flood risk. So you can see the blue is where the floodways are, and then where the flooding could happen. And you can actually click on these and it tells you exactly what you're looking at. So this is a floodway. So whenever there's large amounts of water, they will open up those floodways to allow water to go to other places to reduce flooding in upstream. And they'll let that water go downstream. So this is really cool. You can see where you live and where the flooding risk is. Do you live in the floodplain? And you probably know because you pay extra on your home insurance if you live in a floodplain. So this will give you an idea. If you're looking to move, you can see this map. So again, this is an app. You can share these apps by clicking on the share button and just sharing this short URL.
Lauren, we did have one question, and I'm not sure how to answer it, but maybe and that is, would you recommend some good places to live if we work at the Mountain View campus? And so my first thought is, finding a map of the DART rail and or DART bus stations. But do you have any other?
I don't, because I live 30 miles away. So I have no help at all when it comes to that, because I actually live in Tarrant County. So I got to work and went home. So I don't know anything about the living areas. I know that Bishop Arts in Oak Cliff is really up and coming, but that's up and becoming because it has been gentrified. So, you have access to the streetcar there, but would that streetcar have come through that area if it hadn't been gentrified? Yeah. So, just ask around, ask your friends, your name, and yeah, I'm no help when it comes to moving to Dallas. I am so sorry. Maria just asked, like, pops up in the chat, how will I share this? So I will share the link for this with you. It just popped up on the side. It saves it to my desktop. So I will share the link with you at the very, very end. You're welcome, Jay. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I hope that you're able to use this information in your classroom. So part of living with harmony with nature is that there's something called ecosystem services. And this is why not destroying nature is so important, because nature provides a lot of services for us for free. So if we destroy those areas that provide those services, then we have to build the infrastructure, the facilities to provide those services. And then we have to maintain them. We have to employ people. We have to insure it, all of these different things. Why not just not ruin, don't pave over the things that provide these services for free, like wetlands? There is no good reason to pave over a wetland. It provides a lot of different services. It helps, absorb flood water. It provides habitat. It's very, very biodiverse. It's just huge benefits. And if we were to get rid of it, and it cleans the water too. If there's water running through it, it actually pulls out the toxins and the chemicals, and it stores it, and then that water is cleaned as it moves outside of that wetland. So a lot of different services. So all of these different things, from food to having clean water to pollinators. We all know how important the pollinators are to make our food possible. So there are 4 different kinds of ecosystem services with different indicators within those. So I really encourage you to learn more about this. I do have some more information here about those, but it just makes sense to allow nature to provide these things to us for free. So another part of this is creating a resilient economy. Now, the pandemic has really taken its toll. It has really, really taken its toll, across the country, and and we can see the huge dip. When everything shut down in March of 2020. How everything started to fall. But we are seeing some recovery. We are recovering better than the rest of the country. We're recovering at a higher rate. So that's great. But when we, according to these labor statistics from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, that we lost almost 94,000 jobs just in the Dallas-Plano Irving area last year. So it was an enormous amount of jobs. In the Fort Worth, Tarrant County area, they lost 29% of their workforce. So it had a huge, huge impact. But we are recovering, so that is good news. That is good news. It is our hope that all of our jobs can come back, but it's just going to take time. And then this information tells us, where did we lose the majority of our jobs? Well, I think that we would all know instinctively from reading the news that most of our layoffs were in the leisure and hospitality areas, and they are slowly coming back. But we lost a lot of stuff that's simply not going to come back. A lot of restaurants that are gone, a lot of businesses that are gone that just weren't able to survive. We're 14 months in and we're still not out of this yet. So these are the kinds of jobs that have really suffered, but they are coming back slowly. The only thing that in February, or financial services have started coming back, trade, transportation, and utilities have started coming back. So this gives you more information about that. So these are the the jobs that have been affected and how that's looking now. But I also found on the Dallas College website, I found some information about what kind of wages, what kind of jobs are available in our area and what kind of wages they pay, what kind of degree is necessary. I'm not going to go through all of this, but you're welcome to click on this and interact with all of this information depending on what your degree is in. So these are all degrees that we offer here at Dallas College and what kind of jobs you can move into with your degree and about how much money you could look at. So you can see from that Bureau of Labor Statistics information and how that correlates with the kind of jobs that we offer here in Dallas, or the kind of jobs we prepare you for in Dallas College. But there was a report from LinkedIn that talked about the fact that Dallas-Fort Worth is one of the highest, one of the metro areas that's recovering the fastest. And they said that that one of the areas that is really going to be hot in Dallas is user experience designers. So we know that with so many people going online and working and going to school and meeting with family and friends online, that user experience for video conferencing, Zooming, all of those things, that user experience is very, very important. We had no idea how important it was until 14 months ago. So that is one of the hottest markets right now. One of the hottest jobs in Dallas is user experience designers. So if you're looking for a career, if you're thinking about your career options, that is something that we can train you for in Dallas College, and then you can have a great career going forward. A part of this resilient economy is, what does the city do for us? So yes, you can have a resilient economy, but you can't do it all just by, counting on business to do this and the workers and all that. You need community help also. So Dallas County actually has neighborhood empowerment zones. There are only 10 of them, and you can play with them on this map to see where they are. My take on this, and it tells you here on the side, what kind of information is included in this map and what are the qualifiers for it. But it's just really, really, really tiny. I mean, how much impact can you really have in these itty bitty, bitty, bitty areas? So you can actually click on these and find out more information, and you can change. Yeah, there's just not much information here. So you can just basically see where they are. So you can see, it's itty bitty bitty. So I don't know. It's yay city for having these empowerment zones, but are they doing enough? Is it robust? Is the program robust enough to really provide the services that we need? We also have public improvement districts where residents can, property owners can get together and request special property taxes to improve services in these specific areas. So you can see on this map that all of those areas, except for, this is the Cedars area, which is a public improvement district, that there's nothing in the Southern District. So I think that is short-sighted, and that there should be opportunities for those in the Southern sector also. So you can see here now that 2020, so this improvement district expired in 2020. This one's going to expire in 2023. So this is the Cedars, were near where the Dallas Police Department is. So you can see what the different qualifications are for these. So the city, the county is providing some of these benefits, but I think it needs to be bigger. I think that they need to be bigger and they need to be bolder when it comes to these kinds of services for the residents. And this sadly is one of my favorite maps in a bad kind of way, because we knew prior to the pandemic that there was a digital divide across the country, but in Dallas specifically, where people did not have access to a computer and or broadband. So we have students who are taking classes and writing papers on their phones. And a lot of people don't even have smartphones. They still have flip phones. So there is this huge digital divide, and who can be part of this rebuilding of our economy? Can those people truly participate to the level that they should be able to if they don't have access to these tools and to these services? So you can look at the darker areas or the areas without computers. And again, this is an app, and it shows where the education, you can look at by state, county, and by track. So we can zoom in and you can look for your address and you can see exactly how many people, 55% of people who live in this census tract do not have access to a computer. So that's actually 400 people. So it's really good. Now you know, instead of just saying, oh, we have a digital divide, now you know where it is and where we need to target our actions.
We had a question come in about the neighborhood zones, about the NEZs. The PIDs are a great idea, but implementation has been very poor. Can we, as Dallas College, make a difference and create more of them? Could we work with the NCT COG?
The North Central Texas Council of Governments. I think that that's a tremendous idea. I think that that is a wonderful idea. And get the name of the person who put that forward. Is that an employee?
It's Maria.
Oh, yay, Maria, of course. Okay, Maria, Maria is one of our colleagues, so we've just put another task on her plate. So she is our new Dean of Special Projects, so she just created a special project for herself. So yeah, I think that's a tremendous idea. And what a great service learning project for our students too. So wonderful, wonderful idea. And so there's a lot of inequity in Dallas. And these maps and this data, being able to visualize the data using this mapping software really allows us to see where those inequities are, why they're there, and pinpoint the actions we need to take to improve the equity in Dallas County. So I made a swipe map, kind of like I did at the beginning with the two sustainable development goals. So this one shows the median household income in Dallas County and in Fort Worth. So here's Fort Worth over here. Here's Dallas County. So we can see that the darker green is the higher median incomes, and then the darker blue are the lower. And you can actually click on each of these census tracts and it will tell you. It should tell you. It should tell you. And I must be experiencing a lag, but it will. When you open this, it will show you what that is. But we can also see how that relates to crime. So we can see that, is there a correlation between lower income areas experiencing more crime? Oh, there we go. There's my pop-up. So we can actually make a case for, yes, if you look at this area right here, the median income is about $31,000 in this census tract. If we look at that same census tract for crime, they have almost 3 times more crime than is the national average. So we can see that most of that is personal crime, and then this is your property crime. So there's a lot of really good data that's included in these. So could we make those correlations? Yeah, I think that we can. I think a lot of people go, oh yeah, well, of course that makes sense. Well, now we can prove it. Now we have the data that shows where the impacts are. And I'm running out of time. Affordable housing, huge problem in probably nationwide, but I know specifically in Dallas County, it is a huge problem that in Texas that you need to earn more than $20 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom rental home in Texas. So, but the minimum wage is $7.20 or $7.50, $7.25. It's really way too low, so people aren't able to afford that. There's an interactive map that you can play with. You can access here. This is the housing. This is the darker colors are the people who are paying more than 30% of their monthly earnings toward housing, and the statistics say that you should never spend more than 30% of your salary, your earnings on your rent, because it doesn't leave enough money for food and clothing and healthcare and transportation and all these other things that you need. So all of these really dark areas spend more than 30% of their income on housing. And so here it tells you exactly what the percentages are, and then it just moves to the next census tract, so you can look at those. Now this is really interesting, y'all. I just found this over the weekend. These are all of the all the sites that are being tracked for environmental and health issues in actually in the country, but I zoomed in on Dallas. So you can look at all of these. Here is all of the things that are being tracked around the country that are they are registered, that are being tracked by either the federal government and or the state for environmental issues. So you can, so actually by looking at this, I found out that where our office is on Lamar Street, or excuse me, both Jean Street, south of downtown, was a brownfield site. So they cleaned up what was here before, and then they built these, the apartments, the Southside apartments, and the Dallas Police Station, and our district headquarters. So you're welcome to look at that. And then I found that we actually have Superfund sites in Dallas. This is a map that I downloaded from the EPA that shows where the Superfund sites are. So there are 3 of them in Dallas County. But what I found really interesting was, they're not here. I'll add them. After I share this with you, wait a couple of hours, then refresh it, and you'll be able to see. I did find a couple of really great maps about who is being affected by, these. Yeah, it looks like it's this one little spot, but lots of people are being affected by the impacts of those Superfund sites. So I apologize. I thought I had saved that. And then this last one is access to healthcare. We know that Texas has the most people who do not have health insurance, and here they are. So we are able to visualize where those problems are, and we can actually see. And 9% is the average. That is the national average of people not having health insurance. Texas is above 16. So it is very, very tragic, especially during a global health crisis like we're going through now. So these are, yes, There are a lot of things that we need to do, but now you are empowered with the knowledge of what the problems are, where they are, who is being affected, and who you can go to say, this needs to change. And that's where the participation, the authentic participation comes in. Make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you actually go and vote. Make sure you attend or even live stream or watch the recording of your city council meetings. Those are the people who have the largest impacts on your lives. People think that the presidential, they don't. The city council are the ones who are in charge of your water coming on, the electricity coming on, your garbage being picked up, your recycling services being provided, making sure that the businesses in our area are safe and are creating Superfund sites. That's the city government's job, to provide transportation. So pay attention to what the city government is doing, and the state government also. These lower level elections are a lot more important than most people think. So you have a lot of information available to you now. Here is my contact information, and this was adapted. Chan, you'll appreciate this. This is adapted from one of our readings at UTA. Chan is one of my classmates at UTA. So if anybody would like a copy of this, it does cost $25 if you're not a member of APA. If you're not and you would like a copy, I'd be happy to share it with you. So I am going to put in the chat, if I can get to it, I'm going to put the link to this presentation. Boom. Now everybody is empowered. You have all of this wonderful information. You're welcome, Martha. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. What other questions do we, oh my goodness, look at that. 1 o'clock, I have no time filling up an hour when I'm talking about stuff that you know, is my passion. But you have my email address, so please contact me if you have any other questions. Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Lori. Excellent presentation as usual. We really appreciate you sharing with us. We hope you have a wonderful remainder of your Earth Week, and we hope to see you next week.